The bell above the diner door jingled, a cheerful sound that didn't match the sudden tension that swept through the room. Two cops stepped in, boots heavy against the black and white checkered floor, their presence turning heads. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks clinked nervously on plates. In the far corner, a lone black man sat hunched over a chipped mug of coffee, steam barely rising. His jacket was frayed at the cuffs, a deep olive green from a military surplus store, but clean. From beneath the sleeve, the faint outline of an American flag tattoo wrapped around his bicep. The ink faded but unmistakable. He didn't look up, didn't flinch. To the others in the diner, he might as well have been invisible, but not to the cops. One of them, a broad-shouldered officer with a sharp buzz cut and a smirk carved permanently into his face, nudged his partner. "Looks like we got ourselves a squatter," he said under his breath, loud enough for the words to travel. The younger cop chuckled, fingers drumming on the handle of his holstered gun. The man in the corner took a slow sip of his lukewarm coffee. No expression crossed his face. His eyes, dark and unreadable, stayed fixed on the scratched tabletop as if the rest of the world didn't matter. But inside, his mind was moving, calculating, replaying old scenarios from a life he'd tried to leave behind. They approached him slowly, like predators circling prey. "Morning, sir," the smirking cop said, his tone a mixture of fake politeness and thinly veiled contempt. "You got ID on you?" The man lifted his eyes, calm, steady, almost unnerving. "Just finishing my coffee, officers," he said softly. "Yeah. Well, we got complaints. Folks say there's a homeless guy causing a disturbance." The man raised one eyebrow. "Have I caused any disturbance? Standing out here in that jacket's disturbance enough." The cop's hand clamped down on his shoulder. The force wasn't needed, but it was intentional. A show of dominance. Still, the man didn't move. Didn't protest. Not yet.to them. He was a nobody. A homeless veteran taking up space in a diner meant for paying customers to them. He was powerless. What they didn't know was that Malik Carter had spent 2 tours in Afghanistan and another decade in the shadows of America's Black Ops programs. He wasn't just a soldier. He was the soldier they sent when every other option had failed. And though the country had discarded him, stripping away his rank and pension and tossing him into a bureaucratic void, Malik Carter still carried something they couldn't take, the kind of secrets that could make powerful men tremble. He tightened his jaw, the leather of his gloves creaking faintly as he curled his hands into fists under the table. He'd been here before. Different place, different uniforms, same energy. "All right, sir. Time to go," the cop said, tugging at Malik's arm. Malik's chair scraped slightly as he shifted his weight, but his voice remained calm. "You're making a mistake." The younger cop snorted. "Oh yeah? What are you gonna do? Call your homeless buddies to come save you?" The smirk returned to the older cop's face. "Let's just drag him out. He ain't got nobody to call." Malik exhaled slowly, like a man weighing his final move in a chess game. He slid his phone across the table, the screen cracked but functional. His thumb hovered over a single contact. No name, just 3 stars. "Last chance," Malik said, his voice low, almost apologetic. "Walk away." "Or what?" the cop barked, tightening his grip. Malik pressed the button. The call connected on the first ring. A deep, commanding voice answered immediately. "Carter, you alive?" Malik's eyes locked on the officer in front of him. His expression didn't change, but his tone carried weight, a quiet authority forged in war zones and whispered in briefing rooms deep underground. "I need a favor, General." The diner's TV flickered suddenly, interrupting a morning talk show. A red banner scrolled across the bottom. "Breaking. Pentagon confirms internal investigation into police misconduct. Sources cite unauthorized surveillance of high-clearance personnel." The younger cop froze mid-motion. The smirk drained from the older cop's face. Their radios crackled with frantic voices. "All units stand down on Carter." "I repeat, stand down." Malik leaned back slightly, eyes still locked on his would-be captors. "Told you it was a mistake." For a moment, fear flashed in the older cop's eyes. Then rage replaced it. His hand twitched toward his cuffs. "You think one call changes anything?" he growled. Malik's voice dropped to a whisper so cold it felt like winter. "That call was a courtesy. The next one's your obituary." Police car light sirens wailed outside. Not local police this time. These were federal. Black SUVs screeched to a halt in front of the diner. Doors slammed. And then the diner door burst open. Suited agents stormed in, badges gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Officers, you are relieved of duty. Effective immediately. The cuffs meant for Malik now clicked shut around the wrists of the two stunned cops. Malik stood slowly, straightened his jacket, and stepped out into the sunlight. Behind him, the diner erupted in whispers. Ahead of him, black federal vehicles lined the street like silent sentinels, eyeing his earpiece. The general's voice came again. You coming home, soldier? Malik glanced at his tattoo, the faded flag he had bled for, and then at the flashing cameras outside the precinct. Not yet, sir. Still work to do. And with that, he vanished into the crowd, another ghost in a city that had tried to forget him. The sunlight outside the diner felt sharper than usual, bouncing off black SUVs like cold steel. Malik Carter stepped onto the sidewalk, his boots worn but steady. Behind him, chaos unfolded as federal agents marched the two disgraced officers to their vehicles. Hands cuffed, faces pale, the crowd that had gathered whispered in confusion and awe. Who was this homeless man? Why had the police radios erupted in panic the moment he made that single call? And why did federal agents snap to attention in his presence? Malik ignored the murmurs. He kept walking, one step at a time, his figure merging into the city's restless flow, eye in his earpiece. The general's voice came through again, low, gravelly, and tinged with relief. Carter, I told you to reach out sooner. How many more times are you planning to test your luck out there? Malik didn't answer immediately. His eyes scanned the street. Yellow taxis speeding past, steam curling from a manhole cover, pedestrians glued to their phones. All so normal. I handle my own battles, General, he said finally. Damn it, Malik. You're not invincible. Never said I was. The line went silent for a beat. Then the general's voice softened. Come home, son. We'll get you squared away. A clean bed. Hot meals. VA benefits reinstated. I can pull strings. Malik stopped walking, staring at a cracked window reflecting his tired face. The beard was longer now, streaked with gray. The eyes staring back weren't the same ones that had left for Afghanistan all those years ago. It's not time yet, Malik said. There's still work to do. Work? The general's voice hardened. What you're doing out there isn't work, it's suicide. Those cops could have. They didn't. Malik cut him off. Because you answered the phone. The general sighed heavily. For now? But you've burned that card, Carter. Next time? There won't be a next time, sir. Malik tapped the earpiece, cutting the line. 8 years earlier, the sandstorm raged around Malik's unit, obscuring their vision in the Afghan desert. The roar of wind mingled with gunfire as insurgents closed in. Carter. On me. His commander barked. Malik darted forward, low and fast, his M4 rifle steady in his hands. In that moment, he was alive. Not just breathing, but electric. Every sense sharpened, every decision life or death that he and his team had survived impossible odds before. But this mission was different. Classified. A black ops operation that officially didn't exist. When they returned, there were no medals. No fanfare. Just silence, paperwork, and orders to forget what they'd seen. Malik tried. He really did. But the faces of the fallen haunted his dreams. And the promises his country made, housing, medical care, support, they dissolved in a maze of red tape. Back to the present, Malik wandered into a small park and sank onto a bench. The cool metal chilled him through his thin jacket. Around him, joggers passed without a glance. A child laughed as pigeons scattered. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a dog tag. His own, dulled and scuffed over the years. The name Carter, M, was barely legible now. Once upon a time, that name meant something. Now he was just another invisible man on the streets. His thoughts were interrupted by the soft crunch of gravel. Hey, buddy, a voice called. Malik looked up to see a security guard approaching. Young, maybe mid-20s, with a nervous smile. You can't sleep here, the guard said. Park regulations. Malik didn't argue. He rose slowly, slipping the dog tag back into his pocket. No trouble here, he murmured. The guard seemed relieved and stepped aside as Malik walked past out a shadow in the system what few knew. Even the cops who'd just been arrested, was that Malik Carter wasn't just a homeless vet. He was a man carrying dangerous knowledge. After his discharge, Malik discovered a network of corruption buried deep in the systems meant to protect veterans like him. Officials siphoning funds from VA programs. Police departments surveilling ex-Black Ops personnel. Judges dismissing cases against dirty cops. And so Malik began quietly collecting evidence. Names, dates, transactions. Enough to topple careers and expose rot at the highest levels. But it came at a cost. He lost his home, his job, his place in society. The warning that morning in the diner wasn't the first time he'd been targeted. 3 weeks ago, two detectives cornered him in an alley. Their voices were low, threatening. "Stop asking questions about the VA funds, Carter. You don't want to make enemies in this city." Malik had walked away that time too. But he'd felt the crosshairs tightening. The cops at the diner weren't random bullies. They were sent to test him, to see if he'd break. They hadn't expected his one phone call to trigger a chain reaction all the way to the Pentagon. As night fell, Malik entered a soup kitchen on the edge of the city. The warmth hit him like a wave, and for a moment he felt human again. "Malik," the volunteer greeted him softly. "It's been a while." He nodded, taking a seat in the corner. A bowl of soup was placed in front of him, steam curling upward. But before he could take a sip, his phone buzzed at a number he didn't recognize. Caution flickered in his eyes. He answered anyway. A woman's voice came through, urgent and afraid. "Mr. Carter? They said you're the only one who can help." Cliffhanger ending for part 2. Malik set the spoon down slowly. "Who are you?" he asked. "They took my brother. He's a Marine. They're trying to make it look like he attacked an officer, but it's a setup. Please don't hang up." Malik's jaw tightened. He glanced around the soup kitchen, at the faces of other veterans huddled over their meals. All casualties of the same broken system. He took a long breath. "Where are you?" The screen faded to black as the narrator's voice whispered. He tried to disappear. But some ghosts aren't meant to rest. The phone pressed against his ear felt heavier than it should. Malik Carter listened, silent, as the woman's voice on the other end cracked under the weight of desperation. "They took him, my brother. They dragged him out of his car last night. He's been locked up since. No bail, no phone call. The cops claim he assaulted one of them. But he didn't. He wouldn't." "And why are you calling me?" Malik asked, his tone even, almost detached. "Because they told me you're the only one who can fix this. That you used to make people disappear." Malik's jaw tightened. Somewhere deep inside, the soldier in him stirred, restless. "Who told you that?" "A man at the shelter. Said if I could find you, my brother might still have a chance." "Please, Mr. Carter." He's a Marine too. A long silence stretched between them. Malik's eyes drifted to the steam rising from his untouched soup. Another Marine. Another soldier chewed up and spat out by the same system. "Text me his full name and where they're holding him," Malik said finally. "And don't call this number again." He hung up before she could respond. At a broken system, the streets outside were quiet now, the air sharp with winter's bite. Malik pulled his jacket tighter and started walking, boots scuffing against cracked pavement. Every step felt heavier as memories clawed their way back. A fellow soldier crying in the barracks after being denied VA benefits. Another friend, dead by his own hand. After months of battling PTSD and a faceless bureaucracy, this wasn't the first time Malik had been asked for help. But it might be the first time he said yes at the precinct. The next morning, Malik stood across the street from the precinct, where the young Marine was being held. He leaned casually against a lamppost, eyes hidden behind scratched aviator sunglasses. That a steady flow of officers moved in and out of the building, oblivious to the man watching them. Malik had already spent hours gathering intel. He knew the names of the two arresting officers, Sergeant Peters and Officer Landry. He knew about their disciplinary records, their involvement in prior misconduct cases swept under the rug. And he knew the Marine's name now, Isaiah Brooks. 27 years old, 2 tours in Iraq. Arrested on false charges after filing a complaint against a fellow officer for harassment. Classic retaliation. Malik's phone buzzed. A text from a number he didn't recognize. "Careful, Carter. They know you're sniffing around. Don't push too far." He smirked. They always warned him. But no one ever stopped him. The first move that evening, Malik entered a dive bar 2 blocks from the precinct. The place smelled of stale beer and cheap cologne. In the far corner sat Sergeant Peters, laughing too loudly with 2 other cops. Malik slid onto a stool at the bar, ordered a glass of water, and waited. It didn't take long. Peters stumbled toward the bathroom, alone. Malik followed. Inside the dim, flickering light of the restroom, Peters didn't see the shadow behind him until it was too late. The hand clamped over his mouth. A cold whisper filled his ear. "You framed Isaiah Brooks." Peters thrashed, but Malik's grip didn't budge. "I've got enough on you to ruin your life 3 times over," Malik continued. "Drop the charges. Tonight." Peters managed a muffled protest. Malik pressed harder. "You think this is bad? Wait until the Pentagon starts asking why you were surveilling one of their assets." Peters froze. The fight in him evaporated instantly. Malik released him. "You have 1 hour," he said coldly, "or your career ends tomorrow." The ripple effect back in the precinct. Panic spread like wildfire. Peters barged into Landry's office, face pale. "We have a problem. That guy, Carter, he's not just some random bum. He's what?" Landry snapped. "He's the guy they send when all else fails. Black Ops. Labeled dead in 2017. And now he's in our city." Landry cursed under his breath. "We need to shut him down before he blows this wide open." Malik's network in a dingy motel room on the outskirts of town. Malik sat hunched over a burner laptop. The screen displayed a map of the precinct, security camera feeds, and personnel records. Lines of code scrolled as a quiet voice spoke through his earpiece. "You're playing a dangerous game, Carter," said the hacker on the other end. "You sure you're up for this?" "I don't play games," Malik replied. "I finished them." Cliffhanger ending for part 3. An hour later, Malik received a single text. Charges dropped. Brooks being released. Don't contact us again. Malik didn't smile. Didn't celebrate. He stared at the screen, knowing this wasn't over. The system wouldn't stop, and neither would he. Outside the motel, a pair of headlights flickered in the distance. They were coming for him. Narrator's voice. For video ending, they thought he was gone. They thought they could erase him. But Malik Carter was never gone. He was waiting, and now he's coming for them. The night air hung heavy over the city, thick with the hum of engines and the faint scent of rain. From the window of his dingy motel room, Malik Carter watched a pair of headlights idle across the street. They hadn't moved for nearly an hour. He'd seen this play before. The trap. Malik closed the laptop gently, his fingers brushing against the cracked casing. On the screen moments earlier, he'd watched as Isaiah Brooks, the Marine they'd tried to bury, stepped out of the precinct a free man. His sister had wept into his shoulder. Malik had done what no one else could, but victory was never clean. Every move he made left ripples, and ripples always attracted sharks. The burner phone on the nightstand buzzed once. A single text appeared. "They're coming for you. Run." Malik's jaw tightened. Run? He'd spent his whole life running. From enemies, from ghosts, from a country that had once promised to protect him. Not tonight. Closing in. 3 unmarked cars rolled to a stop outside the motel. Doors opened in unison, boots hitting pavement. 6 men emerged, 4 in plain clothes, 2 in tactical vests. Their movements were quick and deliberate. Carter's in room 12. Orders are to bring him in quiet. And if he resists? He won't. He's just a homeless vet. But the hesitation in the leader's voice betrayed him. Even they weren't sure. Inside, Malik zipped up his jacket. He picked up the dog tag from the nightstand and let it dangle between his fingers for a moment before tucking it under his shirt. There were 2 kinds of men in this world, hunters and prey. And Malik Carter had never been prey. The ambush. The motel door swung open fast, too fast. The first man through never saw the punch coming. Malik's elbow connected with his jaw, sending him sprawling. Before the second man could react, Malik grabbed his arm, twisted, and slammed him into the doorframe. Gunshots rang out. Plaster exploded as bullets tore through the walls. Malik rolled behind the bed, grabbed the side table, and flung it at the nearest attacker. "Stand down, Carter," someone shouted. "You're outnumbered." Malik smirked grimly. Outnumbered? Sure. Outmatched? Not a chance. The escape within seconds. Malik was out the back window, landing silently in the alley below. The rain had started now, falling in cold sheets. Perfect covered, he moved fast, weaving through dumpsters and crates. Behind him, shouts echoed. "He's on the move." A floodlight swept the alley, but Malik was already gone, melting into the shadows. The deadly game at a nearby parking garage. Malik paused to catch his breath. His mind worked like clockwork, analyzing every variable. These weren't regular cops. This was a cleanup crew. Whoever had sent them wasn't just trying to scare him. They wanted him erased, and that meant one thing. He was getting too close to the truth. Retaliation by dawn. Malik had made his way to an abandoned warehouse on the city's outskirts. A safe house he'd used years ago. He booted up another burner laptop and began digging. Bank transfers. Personnel files. Surveillance footage. It didn't take long to connect the dots. The police chief was tied to a private security firm siphoning funds from veteran assistance programs. A city councilman had signed off on illegal surveillance of ex-Black Ops soldiers. And the cleanup crew? Paid directly from a shell company linked to both. Malik's lips pressed into a thin line. This wasn't corruption. This was war. The message hours later, a video appeared on the city's largest news network. It showed Malik Carter, face partially shadowed, speaking directly to the camera. To the people of this city, you've been lied to. The ones sworn to protect you are bleeding you dry while our veterans sleep in the streets. To the men who sent killers after me, you failed. I don't run. I don't hide. And I'm coming for you. The video ended with a single image. The police chief's name and bank account details flashing across the screen. The city exploded in outrage. Protesters gathered outside the precinct. The predators had just become the prey. Cliffhanger ending for Part 4. At a dark conference room uptown, powerful men gathered around a table, their faces pale. Carter's gone rogue, one muttered. He's exposing everything. We need to end him. Permanently. Meanwhile, back in the warehouse, Malik loaded a magazine into his sidearm. You wanted a war, he murmured to himself. Now you've got one. The camera pulled back, showing his silhouette framed against the city skyline. Somewhere, sirens wailed. Helicopters chopped the air, and Malik Carter vanished into the night. Again. The city never really slept. Not in the parts Malik Carter haunted. From the rooftop of an old industrial building, he crouched low, scanning the streets below through a battered pair of binoculars. Neon lights flickered, sirens wailed in the distance, and down on the corner, a sleek black sedan idled with its headlights off. He'd been tracking them for 2 days now. The same cleanup crew that failed to take him out at the motel. But this time, they weren't hunting him. They were delivering a payment. The enemy's heart beat through the binoculars. Malik watched a man step out of the sedan, his tailored suit clashing with the grimy alley walls. Deputy Police Chief Alan Krell. The man spoke briefly to one of the operatives, passing over a slim metal briefcase before climbing back into the car. Krell thought he was untouchable. He thought his connections in City Hall and the state legislature would shield him from scrutiny, that he thought wrong. Malik pulled out a voice recorder and pressed play. Mr. Krell, you're authorizing an off-books hit on Carter? You want him silenced, don't you? That's what you're paying me for. The recording ended. Blackmail? No. This wasn't about leverage anymore. This was about exposure. The digital strikeback in the warehouse safehouse. Malik powered up his battered laptop. Lines of code scrolled across the screen as he connected to a secured network, a favor from an old ally in cyber operations. Within minutes, Deputy Chief Krell's emails, bank records, and call logs flooded the screen. Payments to shell companies. Orders to monitor ex-military personnel. A hit list with Malik's name at the top. Malik packaged it all into a file labeled Operation Broken Shield. Leaked evidence. He attached a note. To the people of this city, this is who protects you. With a single keystroke, he sent it to every major news outlet in the state. Chaos unleashed within hours. The story broke. Deputy Police Chief exposed in murder-for-hire plot. Evidence suggests widespread corruption in veteran affairs programs. Anonymous source blows whistle on police surveillance of ex-military. The city erupted. Protesters swarmed City Hall. News cameras camped outside police headquarters. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves. Malik watched from a cafe across the street. Hood pulled low, as Krell was led out of the precinct in handcuffs. For a brief moment, Malik allowed himself a thin smile. But he knew this wasn't the end. At a dangerous conversation, his burner phone buzzed. Unknown number, he answered, saying nothing. A familiar voice crackled through the speaker. You're making a lot of noise, Carter. Noise gets attention. Malik's tone was calm, measured. You think this changes anything? For every Krell we lose, there are 10 more waiting to take his place. Then I'll knock them down too. The voice chuckled darkly. You don't know who you're fighting, Carter. This isn't war. It's extermination. And you're on the wrong side. Tell your boss I said hi, Malik replied, ending the call. The setup that night. Malik returned to his warehouse hideout, but something felt off. The door was ajar. Quietly, he drew his sidearm, finger resting lightly on the trigger guard. His boots made no sound on the concrete floor. Inside, the room was dark, too dark that a faint red light blinked in the corner. Laser tripwire. Malik froze. Damn it, he muttered under his breath. The explosion, the blast hit like a hammer. Malik was thrown backward as fire engulfed the room. The shockwave rattled windows for blocks. Sirens wailed in the distance as black smoke billowed into the night sky. A cleanup cruise van pulled up moments later, men in tactical gear pouring out. "Check for a body," one barked. They swept the rubble with flashlights, rifles raised. But Malik Carter was already gone. The hunter's warning 2 hours later, a video surfaced on the dark web that Malik's face was obscured in shadows. But his voice was unmistakable. "You tried to burn me alive. You missed. You think this is extermination? No, this is evolution. You made me this way. And now I'm coming for every single one of you." The screen went black. A single sentence appeared in white text. "Your move." The rain came down in cold sheets, turning the city into a blur of neon lights and slick asphalt. Somewhere in that darkness, Malik Carter moved like a shadow, his breath steady despite the pounding in his chest. They'd tried to kill him once. It didn't work. Now they were sending something worse. The predator on the other side of the city, in a windowless room lit only by a single hanging bulb, a man sat sharpening a blade. The sound of metal scraping against whetstone echoed like a heartbeat. They called him the Wolf, and no one knew his real name. No one lived long enough to ask. A voice came from the darkness behind him. Carter survived the motel. He exposed Krell. He burned the chief's network to the ground. He's making us look weak. The Wolf didn't look up. Weak men send fire. Smart men send wolves. Can you handle him? The Wolf smirked as he slid the blade into its sheath. "I don't handle. I finish." A ghost on the run. Malik knew he couldn't stay in one place for long. He had switched safe houses 3 times in the last 48 hours. Each move calculated. Each exit covered. But he felt it. An unseen presence closing in. This wasn't like the bumbling cleanup crews before. This was surgical. Precise. Somewhere out there, someone dangerous was hunting him. And for the first time in years, Malik felt the faint itch of fear. The first encounter had happened in an abandoned subway station. Malik had gone there to retrieve a hidden cache. A pistol, a flash drive, and a stash of cash he'd buried years ago. As he crouched near the loose tiles, a faint sound reached his ears. Click. The unmistakable sound of a blade locking into place. Malik spun, gun raised, but no one was there. The lights flickered. Shadows danced. Then a voice drifted through the darkness, calm and cold. "You're good, Carter, but not good enough." The cat-and-mouse game for the next hour. Malik and the Wolf circled each other in the underground maze. Malik laid traps, tripwires, broken glass on the floor. The Wolf evaded them all, moving silent as death. Malik's heartbeat thudded in his ears. This wasn't a soldier. This wasn't a cop. This was a hunter. The strike. Malik rounded a corner and froze. The Wolf stood at the far end of the corridor, silhouetted against the dim emergency lights. In one hand, he held a long combat knife. In the other, Malik's own dog tag, dangling from its chain. 30 years in the field, and you let a rookie mistake cost you this? Malik's eyes narrowed. "You're not the first they've sent." The Wolf smiled. "But I'll be the last." The fight was fast and brutal. Malik's pistol fired. Click. Empty. The Wolf lunged, blade slashing. Malik dodged, grabbing a metal pipe from the ground. Sparks flew as steel met steel. Each move was met with perfect counters. Malik struck with the efficiency of a soldier. The Wolf moved with the grace of a predator. Blood splattered on the tiles. Malik grunted as the knife sliced his arm. The Wolf laughed softly. "You're bleeding, ghost." "So are you." Malik's pipe connected with the Wolf's ribs, forcing a hiss of pain. A deadly stalemate. The 2 men broke apart, circling each other in the dim light. Both wounded. Both calculating. "They sent you because they're scared," Malik said. "They sent me because they're smart," the Wolf countered. "You think you're hunting me? You're just another pawn on their board." The Wolf's smile faltered, just for a second. The twist, then Malik's earpiece crackled to life. A faint voice. "Malik, it's the general. We need to talk." Malik froze. "You're behind this?" "It's not what you think." Pull out now before it's too late. But Malik wasn't listening anymore, because in that moment, the wolf pressed a small device into his palm. A burner phone dot on the screen, a single message blinked. They're using you, Carter. You're not the target. You're the bait. The darkness in the subway tunnel was absolute, save for the faint orange glow of detonators embedded in the cracked walls. Malik Carter's lungs burned as he sprinted behind the wolf, boots pounding against the damp concrete. Where the hell are you taking me? Malik barked, out of here, unless you want to be buried alive. Behind them, the rumble grew louder. Dust rained down from the ceiling. Somewhere above, an entire city moved, oblivious to the men fighting for their lives beneath its streets. In uneasy alliance, they burst out of a maintenance hatch into the frigid night air. Malik collapsed against a wall, breathing hard. Blood seeped from a shallow gash in his side, staining his shirt. The wolf crouched nearby, calm despite his own wounds. He tossed Malik a bottle of water. They played us both, Carter. Malik took a swig, glaring. You expect me to believe you weren't sent to kill me? I was, the wolf admitted. But the job changed. Halfway through, I got new orders. Take you alive. That's when I knew something was wrong. Malik's eyes narrowed. Explain. They weren't after you. They were after what you're protecting, your files, your knowledge of Black Ops programs. You've been bait this whole time, drawing out their real enemies. Malik's mind raced. It made sense. Too much sense. So what's the play? We burn their house down. Together. The infiltration by dawn. The two men were moving through the city's financial district, their faces hidden beneath baseball caps and hoodies. The wolf had provided blueprints of a high-rise building downtown. Headquarters of Aegis Corp, the private security firm funding the corrupt police network, AT the top floor. The man pulling the strings. Victor Hale, ex-CIA, billionaire. Ruthless. The kind of man who made others disappear with a phone call. The climb, they entered the building through an underground parking garage. Security cameras turned black as the wolf's device fried their circuits. You still got it, Malik muttered. You're not bad for a ghost. The wolf shot back. Floor by floor, they worked their way up. Quiet, efficient, lethal. Guards went down silently. Malik's hands moved with surgical precision, disarming one man and knocking him unconscious with a single blow. The final confrontation at last. They reached the top floor. The glass doors to Hale's office gleamed under harsh fluorescent lights. Malik kicked them open. Victor Hale sat behind a mahogany desk, swirling a glass of scotch. His tailored suit immaculate, he didn't flinch. Didn't even look surprised. Carter. And the wolf. Two ghosts in my office. How poetic. Malik leveled his gun. This ends now, Hale. Hale chuckled. And? My dear boy, this isn't the end. It's just business. You used me. You used him. You used everyone. Malik's voice was cold, controlled. That's what power is. Using the pieces on the board to win the game. A deadly choice suddenly. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed as steel shutters slammed down over the windows. Hale leaned back, smirking. You didn't think I'd let you walk in here without contingencies, did you? Dozens of armed guards poured into the room, rifles raised. Malik and the wolf stood back to back, weapons ready. You with me? Malik asked. Till the end. The wolf replied. The fight for survival. The room erupted in chaos. Gunfire cracked. Glass shattered. Malik moved like a phantom, disarming one guard and using his rifle to drop another. The wolf was a blur, his combat knife flashing in the red light. But there were too many. Malik's pistol clicked empty. The wolf took a bullet to the shoulder, grunting in pain. The turning point. Malik grabbed the wolf, dragging him behind a fallen desk. We can't hold them off forever. Then we don't, the wolf said, blood staining his lips. We take the whole place down. He pulled a detonator from his vest. You planted charges? Malik asked. Always have an exit strategy. The endgame. Malik slammed the detonator button. Explosions rippled through the building. The floor shook violently. Smoke choked the air. Victor Hale's voice screamed through the chaos. You'll never stop us. There will always be another me. Malik stared him down, calm even as flames licked the walls. Not today. The escape. Malik and the wolf crashed through a window as the building erupted in fire behind them. A helicopter hovered nearby. Malik's fail-safe extraction plan. Strong hands pulled them aboard as the skyscraper crumbled, fire lighting up the night sky. The farewell on board. The wolf slumped against the wall, breathing heavily. "You know this isn't over," he rasped. "It is for me." Malik said quietly. He handed the wolf a flash drive. "Exposing them is your job now. I've done enough." The wolf looked at him, confused. "Where will you go?" Malik stared out at the burning city below. "I'm already gone." And with that, he leapt from the helicopter into the darkness, vanishing into the night like the ghost he was. Epilogue. The legend. Weeks later, news anchors spoke Malik Carter's name in hushed tones. Anonymous whistleblower dismantles corruption ring. Hero or fugitive? The mysterious vigilante who brought down Aegis Corporation. But no one could find him. Some said he was dead. Others claimed to see him in distant cities, helping the forgotten and hunted. One thing was certain. Malik Carter had become more than a man. He was a legend. Narrator's voice. For video ending, they tried to erase him. They failed, because you can't kill a ghost. And Malik Carter was never really alive to begin with. Text on screen. Legends never die.